For our book project, Mackenzie and I were assigned Lost at School by Dr. Ross Green. Lost at School focuses on children that have behavioral issues both in school and at home. Throughout the book, Dr. Green explores the current systems that most schools have in place in order to deal with the quote-unquote difficult children, as well as newer ideas that allow for a more healthy, collaborative, and most importantly, effective means of helping these children to cope with their struggles and excel in school. We encourage you to open the Padlet discussion now so that you can respond to the questions as they are discussed. And remember, there are no right answers. We just want to hear your thoughts. For our book project, Mackenzie and I were assigned Lost at School by Dr. Ross Green. Lost at School focuses on children that have behavioral issues both in school and at home. Throughout the book, Dr. Green explores the current systems that most schools have in place in order to deal with the quote-unquote difficult children, as well as newer ideas that allow for a more healthy, collaborative, and most importantly, effective means of helping these children to cope with their struggles and excel in school. We encourage you to open the Padlet discussion now so that you can respond to the questions as they are discussed. And remember, there are no right answers. We just want to hear your thoughts.
I chose the book
While we
because
were
of a
assigned the
similar
book out
thought
of 3
process to
options,
Haley.
there was some
I
thought put
wanted to
into
know
picking
what the
Lost at
teacher's
School as
perspective
one of our
was in
options.
these situations because it
Personally,
is
I
something
chose
that
this
me
book because
myself
I've
am
been
still
a
wary
student with
of.
behavioral issues,
Getting as much
and I wanted
knowledge
to
in these
gain a better
areas as
understanding of the
possible
teacher's
will help me get
perspectives
better
of
at
these
handling
situations.
situations that are difficult.
I'm also
Also,
strongly
different
compelled
methods
to
of
help
handling
children that
situations
tend to
is always
falter in an
beneficial to have.
education setting.
So these are some of the
I'm
reasons that
always looking to
I
understand
was
them
drawn
and
to the
help them
book
become a
Lost at
better
School.
student with more accessible support. Well,
I chose the book because of a similar thought process to Haley. I wanted to know what the teacher's perspective was in these situations because it is something that me myself am still wary of. Getting as much knowledge in these areas as possible will help me get better at handling situations that are difficult. Also, different methods of handling situations is always beneficial to have. So these are some of the reasons that I was drawn to the book Lost at School. Next, let's take a look at the book's overview and specifically the organization of the book. So, Dr. Green organizes his book in a unique way, to say the least. The book starts out with a story of a child that is presenting disruptive behavior in his classroom. So, throughout the book, Dr. Green brings us back to Joey, the student, and his educators to demonstrate real world problems in problem solving. After giving the reader the introduction to each chapter, Green then presents the reader with different ideas as to how the situation in the story could be handled. So once he's finished with this explanation of the new ideas, Dr. Green then takes it upon himself to write out questions with answers that he expects readers to have while reading each chapter, which again is unique, but also can be very beneficial to the reader because if they're stuck or have a question that they want answered, more than likely it's going to be at the end of each of those chapters. And then for the genre, we classified the book as educational nonfiction because while Dr. Green does present a lot of factual and helpful information, he also creates the story of Joey. Moving on to the audience. Next, let's take a look at the book's overview and specifically the organization of the book. So, Dr. Green organizes his book in a unique way, to say the least.
Throughout the book, Dr. Green discusses 3 different plans and strategies for helping struggling children to modify their behavior and do better in school. He refers to these as Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. According to Dr. Green, Plan A is where an authority figure gives the child an already decided upon course of action. Plan A is likely the most familiar option to everyone. I myself have been guilty of the classic, "we're doing this because I said so." While this plan is certainly the quickest way of finding a solution, it's also the most efficient way of upsetting one or both people in the situation. Plan B is a plan that is best used outside of the scenario where a child is upset or misbehaving. Plan B allows the child and adult to sit down and pinpoint triggers for the child and work together to find the best way to avoid triggering instances in the future. The biggest downside to this plan is that it requires some observational skills from the adults in a child's life, and it can rarely be effective in the moment. Plan C goes hand in hand with Plan B. After the triggers for the child can be identified, the adults can then assign the problems that the child faces a number of importance. Putting smaller issues off for the future allows the child to focus on the bigger issues first and not become overwhelmed with all of the work that needs to be done on their end. However, this plan also means that the child will still have issues to face, even if they are considered low priority. Throughout the book, Dr. Green uses the story of a child named Joey to show the reader what each of these plans look like in action. The story starts us off with Joey having an outburst over what seems like being told to do his work, like the rest of the class. His punishment is decided by the principal, and he is suspended from school. This solution, a demonstration of Plan A, leaves Joey and all the adults in his life frustrated as they continue to head down the path that has done nothing but fail kids like Joey. The story continues as the adults in Joey's life realize that a collaborative solution, like one in Plan B, would potentially work better for Joey, or at the very least, it would be a new strategy. Plan B is based on the Collaborative and Proactive Solutions, or CPS, model that Dr. Green himself developed. In the Plan B strategy, the assessment of lagging skills and unsolved problems, or ALSUP, is used. The ALSUP allows the adults to highlight skills that a child is lacking and the disruptive behavior that comes as a result. In identifying the child's lagging skills, Plan C can be enacted. So, while all 3 plans are discussed throughout the book, Dr. Green spends a majority of his time really focusing on Plan B and how it can be implemented in not only one child's life, but an entire school.